Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to Near Calendars franchise mode here in NHL 25. So last episode, if you did not catch it, we had the first half of the season sim, and we also had free agency, and so far it's been a little bit of a bad season for our team, or actually I should say quite bad of a season. We're 15-20-1, so our record is not necessarily the worst on paper, but it's definitely not off to a great start. The one thing that's been pretty bad for us, though, is our offensive depth scoring. You can see that we are 2.61 goals for per game, which is dead last in the NHL. We're 26th in goals against. Our power play is 18th, which is 17%, so that's not too bad. And we're 22nd on the penalty kill. So the special teams have been okay, but they're obviously still not great by any stretch. And one thing that's been definitely a big problem for this team is, I guess, just stopping the puck as well. As you can see, the plus minus has been a major issue. As you can see, Anton Frondell, our main guy, minus 20 this season so far through 36 games. So I'm hoping that maybe these guys could clean up that plus minus a bit in the second half of the season. We do have Houghton on 25 points in 36 games. He's been really, really good so far. With the addition of the new coach, I don't know if it's just because he's a great fit on all these defensive pairings or what, but he has been exceeding expectation this season. He is also a pending free agent, so maybe that's why, but we will be giving him probably a long-term deal because I think this guy could be a stud defenseman for us going forward. Like, definitely once Dobson leaves, he could be that offensive guy to drive the boat for the roster. But we also have like Edward Shala, I think it's actually pronounced. He's up there, 23 points. We also have Tyrone Cook on 12 goals again. So Cook's still scoring goals, but we aren't getting enough on the depth scoring department because everybody else is below 10 goals through 36 games. So we aren't on a pace for a lot of goals scored this season, but at least we are getting some production from the younger guys. Like I was mentioning, Frondell, Houghton has been good. Cook has been pretty solid. Makinen's been okay. I'd say Crane has also been solid. So those are the main guys that matter the most. There has been also the guys like Bjorkstrand in his first season. He's off to an okay start with 15 points. Hopefully has a good second half as well. We also have Pecker on 7 points. We have a couple other younger guys too, like Boyd on 3 points. Only a -3, which is pretty good considering his team's pretty bad in terms of plus minus. And then Sal Malainen's a -24 so far. So Sal Malainen's probably been the worst of the bunch, but I definitely think he could be better in the second half. I almost forgot that he's actually a right-handed shot as well, kind of like Boyd. So we might actually be able to see if he can play right side as well, just like Boyd, because we did get Boyd to play also right side in the last episode, which is nice. So we could use him on both sides of the puck, which is great to see. So I will see if we could get him over, Sal Malainen over to the right side, maybe in next season, if you guys think that's a good idea. Because then we would probably have, like, as left demon, we'd have Houghton and we'd have Pecker. And we have some guys in the system, I think, that are also left-handed defensemen, like Sierra, if I remember right. But Boyd, Sal Malainen, and Dobson could be our right-hand guys for the time being. Once Dobson leaves, obviously, then Boyd could be higher up in the lineup and all that type of thing. And then, yeah, our goaltending so far has been pretty rough. Both these guys have similar statistics in terms of save percentage and all that. Like, I don't know if we made the right call in terms of Solovyov yet, but obviously he's not going to go on and get paid too much if he continues to play like that, I don't think. And at some point, he should actually start to break out a bit when this team's actually pretty good. So yeah, I'm kind of hoping that we have a better second half of the season. Not too much better, because I obviously want to have maybe a lottery pick in this year's draft, but at the same time, I want to see some of the younger guys getting better plus-minus results and also picking up the offense a bit too if they can, just because obviously it's important for their growth and for the future of our team. But anyways, before we get into simulating probably the rest of the regular season, let's get in your guys' comments and see what you guys have to say about last episode, and then we might make some line adjustments and see if that helps things out in terms of maybe making us win maybe a few more games than losing. So the first comment is from Ryan the Shark. He says, you should have Boyd playing right D on the second pair now that he has that as a secondary position. And yeah, that's true. We should probably go ahead and do that. I don't think I did that in the last episode, so let's go over to our defensive core. And yeah, move Boyd over to the right side, and then Houghton could be on that left side. Houghton and Boyd, it seem like a really good pairing. Maybe that's why Boyd's plus minus is actually not that bad, is because Houghton's helping out with the offense on that second pairing. It's that top pairing that's been a pretty big issue, and that top line in general that's been a big issue. So, yeah, Sal Malainen could be eventually a right-handed defenseman. I don't think he has a lot of points this year because he's not on the power play. I was wondering if I should put him on the power play instead of like Pecker. Actually, yeah, instead of Pecker would make sense because Pecker's a DFD. So we'll take Pecker out of the power play and give Sal Malainen some power play opportunity. And maybe that could actually help his offense a little bit and also give him maybe a bit more confidence to play better 5-on-5. Next comment is from Ben Pepke, who says, "Wish you would have signed Eklund." And I don't know if Eklund would have really made much sense for this team, because when you think about it, the center core, I mean, he could have probably fit into our center core for the team, but the thing is, Mäkinen is the guy I want to have as the top line center right now. There is some other centers potentially in this year's draft that we could get, like a franchise guy. So I don't know if necessarily Eklund would have made sense from a center or a left wing standpoint, because even left wing wise, we have Frundell, we have Crane. There is also guys, I believe, in the AHL, if I remember right, like Prince, who could potentially make it at some point. I don't know if he will, though. We have Oland, Niilakainen as a right-handed forward, but he also shoots left, so maybe he could play on the left wing at some point in the NHL. But I honestly just don't think William Eklund would have made much sense for this team. Obviously, if he's a free agent in the future or something like that, and we need somebody what he brings, maybe we could bring him into the team. We could have always technically got rid of Poitras and then turned him into Eklund instead, but Poitras for now is going to probably be here. He might end up getting dealt at the draft or something like that in the offseason, but for right now, I don't even think it would be much needed to bring in somebody like Eklund, just because it would probably accelerate our rebuild a little bit too fast, and that's not what I'm kind of leaning towards. And the last and final comment is from Sarutak, who says, "Not the first time a Lightning superstar ends up on the Rangers. I would have figured your NHL and AHL teams would be playing better. Maybe next season would be the time to take a look at the coaching staffs." And yeah, maybe in this offseason, we'll definitely take a look at our coaching staff in the NHL and AHL and see if we could maybe make some adjustments so we have some coaches that actually could help this team win games. Now, the current coach does, like I said, fit really good with Houghton. He's been fantastic with this coach, but maybe this current head coach, it becomes like an alternate coach of ours, or an assistant coach, I should say. And then maybe we find somebody else for the AHL and stuff like that to help with the growth, because the AHL hasn't been getting necessarily the most amount of growth. They have been getting some pretty solid results from like Leahy and all that stuff, but the growth hasn't been as insane as I was hoping for. Also, the AHL team has been kind of under-simulating a little bit. Like you could see, Medvedov so far this season has been pretty terrible through 17 games. Last year, he did actually play some NHL games, which I completely forgot about. But yeah, this season, he's been very bad in the AHL compared to last year. So I don't really know why, considering we made this AHL team stronger. And then we also have Nick Coolin, who's also been playing a lot of games this season, and he's also not been that good. So I don't really know what the goaltending is doing in the AHL, but I hope that obviously kind of finds itself. And hopefully a lot of these guys like Leahy and Eriksson, those guys will be in the NHL team next season probably, maybe even Oland, Lindros, those type of guys too. So I just want those guys to continue growing for 1 year in the AHL, and then hopefully they can make that leap up next season. And then, yeah, hopefully we get some coaches that fit a lot of these type of younger guys, and that helps us out in terms of getting this team into a cup contender. So anyways, now that that is done, I think we're ready to continue simulating. Obviously, we just made that one little line adjustment. So putting Salmon Linen on the power play, I think, will help him out a little bit. I think, obviously, changing that defensive thing a bit maybe as well is a good idea. Maybe I should change something else in terms of our lineup. Like, I do like our top six, obviously, because it's got all our top young prospects on it. So I think keeping that the same is all right. But from a defensive standpoint, like I said, Dobson and Salmelainen have been pretty terrible together in terms of defensive stuff. Maybe we might want to give Salmelainen a chance on that top six pairing to kind of shelter his minutes a little bit. Like, he is now getting power play time at least. So we'll put him on the top six pairing with Pecker. Maybe that helps things a bit. And then Lamoureux could play with Dobson. Now, that does put two right-handed defensemen together, which is not the greatest thing in the world, and this puts a left-handed and a right-handed one, but I think that's a good little move just to get Salmelainen and maybe some better plus-minus results and that type of thing. So, aside from that, I think we're ready to continue simulating. Rakoff is currently still injured, so he will be replacing Petrie when he comes back, and then hopefully this team could maybe find ways to win a little bit more games than lose, but like I said, I kind of want to have a bad pick this year, so if we could get like a top 5 pick in this year's draft, that would be a nice thing to have for our prospect pool. So I don't really know if I want our team to over-simulate too much, but I want some good results from the prospects at least. Let's go 1 month at a time. I don't know how much of this we're going to simulate, but I think we might simulate till the end of the season in this episode, because at this point we have nothing really to lose. So unless our team somehow finds a way to get into the playoffs again or something like that, but I think for right now we're not going to get there. But I hope that we get just good results from these top guys. Like, hopefully Cook could hit 30 goals again this season, because that will at least show me that he's a consistent 30-goal scorer. Obviously, this team's not as good this season, maybe, so maybe he takes a bit of an offensive hit a little bit, because we're not scoring a ton of goals as a team this year. So it's going to be harder and harder for him to get good offensive numbers. So who was injured in the AHL? I don't even remember in the last episode. It would have been, let's see, was Galvin playing? No, 4 games. Oh, it was probably Sharp on the defensive side. No, it wasn't. Oh, it was Wallace. Yeah, Quincy Wallace. Quincy Wallace has to come in. Galiev will come out. And hopefully this top line continues to get some pretty good production, because Leahy's been off to a pretty solid start in the AHL so far, despite the AHL team not doing that well. So, yeah, hopefully he continues to grow, and maybe he could be on this NHL roster for next season, which is quite exciting, because I think he could definitely help us get more depth scoring in our lineup, because that's something we've been lacking a bit of so far this season. We've had some okay offensive games, like you can see we won 8-0 against Calgary and 7-3 against Tampa, but we definitely still aren't consistent enough at this stage. But we're very close to 20 wins on the season. There's a 3-game winning streak. Nice to see that. As Pecker has been injured with a pulled groin, so that kind of sucks. We'll go replace player. So that's the rookie. There's 4 wins in a row, a 9-2 win over San Jose. And we also beat Detroit. So we are on a 5-game winning streak to end January. So that kind of is great to see, but also scary, because we're probably hurting ourselves in terms of our draft pick this year, but at the same time, this team is starting to probably find that offensive touch and stuff that they didn't have earlier. Like, if we look at our goals for per game now, we are currently, let's see this now, we're currently 27th, so we went up from 32nd to 27th. Our goals against is 21st. I think that's worse. No, it's not worse. I don't even know if it's worse. Our power play is up to 14th and our penalty kills 22nd. So it looks like Ferndale's up to 45 points now as well. So I think our top line is starting to actually play really good as the rest of the season goes on. So we're on a nice little streak. Let's continue to assimilate. I don't think I want to make any trades this season, just because I don't want to risk, obviously, any problems. So let's continue we'll go to March the 1st. See what we do in February. If we get above 500 by the end of this month, I'll be kind of surprised, as Pecker has returned. So good to have young Cristiano Pecker back in the lineup. Hopefully he can help play good defensively with Salmelainen, because that's why I kind of have him next to Salmelainen, is I think he could help out the defensive part of it. And Salmelainen could get maybe a little bit more free range to do what he wants to do offensively with that. So, like I said, I could ask Salmelainen in next season if he wants to play right D as well, because then we have multiple guys that could play both sides, which would be pretty useful, I think, for our rebuild, because we have drafted quite a bit of defensemen over the last few years. Okay, so we're on a 4-game losing streak. There's a win, though, over Utah, so we're still pretty inconsistent. Like, we go on winning streaks sometimes, and then we go on losing streaks, but yeah, we're not going to make the playoffs with over 30 losses at this point in time. Crane is injured with a strained hamstring. He'll be out till March the 5th. At least that's not too long term, but that kind of sucks, because obviously I want him to have a good season this year, because I believe he's a pending RFA soon. So 25, 32, and 4. So it was a good month of January, I would say, but since then we've been pretty damn bad. We lost 4 in a row, then we win 1, and then we lost 2 in a row, then won 1, and then lost 1. So just no consistency in our game right now at this stage, but that's all right. I don't know if there's anybody I would trade this year. I got to take a look at our contract situation and see if there's anybody with 1 year left that should get moved, because then maybe we could make some trade, but at the same time, I don't think it's necessary. We probably don't even have a lot of value to actually get anything good in return. So Karain apparently is still not even fully healthy, but he's in the lineup now. I don't know why it gave me that notification that he was ready to go, because I thought I literally turned it to basically when he's fully healthy, but at least we don't have a game for a few days, so he should be healthy enough for this next game. 6-5 shootout loss there, so that's a point. But let's take a look at our contract situation here before the deadline, see if there's anybody that I could willing to be traded this year. I could just wait till the draft too with a lot of these guys, but in terms of all expiring, Crane's an RFA, Houghton is an RFA. Neiman has probably some value, but he's a cap whale for this team. Rakoff is also a cap whale. Sales, somewhat of a cap whale. Or Shala, I think it's pronounced. I have to say Shala now, because I heard the pronunciation with the World Juniors. It's Shala, not Sale. Lamoureux is also a cap whale, so obviously can't trade him. Salmine's pending RFA. Yeah, there's not really anybody that would get us anything here, as all of our RFAs are pretty good to get back. And then guys like Neiman and stuff like that, we need them as cap whales. So I don't think we can make any moves, unfortunately. I do actually already want to go to Houghton. How is he doing now this season at this point? Wow, 37 points, 62 games. I think I already want to lock up Olli Houghton if I can during the season. I think he'll be worth it. He wants 6.9 for 3 years. He does not like an 8-year contract at all right now, so maybe I actually do got to wait till the offseason. His organizational interest is not super high either, so I don't like that. But we will have to commit to some of these guys before that organizational interest drops off too much. Because obviously, since our team's still rebuilding, I think probably a lot of these guys are not very happy with the direction so far of this team. But once we start winning, that organizational interest hopefully will go up a bit. So I don't think we're going to make any trades this year. So let's advance to a day after the deadline. I know some of you guys probably don't like it when I don't make any trades. But at the same time, I just don't think we have the assets that I would be willing to move just because we don't have the cap space to just get rid of like an $8 million guy. We can't do that unless we took back cap, basically. So might as well just hold on to the players we have and make the moves we need to make at the draft instead. Jonathan Drouin on waivers. That's kind of an interesting waiver player, but he's 36 years old at this point. He's just a depth forward. Don't have any use for him, but shout out to Jonathan Drouin. 23 points this year. As a 78 overall, that's actually not too bad, but honestly, I don't really need him, even though he's an okay depth option. All right, so we are 25, 32, and 6 after the deadline now. Let's take a look at what trades went down at this deadline, see if there was anything interesting. If there was not, it doesn't matter too much. But, wow, I just realized, look at that notification on the top of the message center. The Islanders are on fire as they play Hershey, having won in their last 10 in a row. So our HL team was off to a slow start, but I think they might actually make it back to the playoffs again, because they have been playing really good apparently as of late with 10 straight wins. So we'll definitely see if they make the playoffs at the end of the season sim. But Brandon Brisson goes off to San Jose. Jackson Blake and John Ludwig go to Buffalo. Cole Sillinger to Tampa. Jordan Harris off to Vancouver with Alexander Kisakov. What else we got here? Any other guys I recognize? Declan Chisholm and Ryan Johnson, I think that is, over to Florida. William Walinda over to Carolina. Fedor Svechkov off to Nashville. What else we got here? Matthew Robertson to Vancouver. Suze to leave to Anaheim. Andrew Cristal to Philadelphia with Jan Unique. A lot of younger guys that I don't really know too much about, to be honest. Drew O'Connor to Winnipeg. Simon Holmstrom's off to Boston, so our former guy goes off to Boston from Vegas. Martin Feravari on his way to Philadelphia. Yuri Kulich on his way to Colorado. And that's pretty much it. So not really any blockbuster trades, but that's all right. What's the HL team's record looking like now? 28, 16, and 8. Holy crap. Okay, so the HL team has been on a rampant pace since we started this episode, so that's really good to see. And apparently they're 8th in goals for, 13th in goals against, 18th on the power play percentage, and 29th on the PK. So that goals for per game, I'm really interested to take a look at those player stats at the end of the season. So Bridgeport might be going for a Calder Cup this year, hopefully. They've been having a really good second half. Hopefully our NHL team obviously still continues to do a little bit inconsistently, but to see our top prospects doing good is a great sign. And like I said, a lot of them will be on the NHL roster next season, which will hopefully give us a bit of a boost for maybe a playoff spot within the next few years. But here we go. Let's go through a couple weeks. Game against Columbus, we lose 4-2. Yep, expected that. Philadelphia, 4-3 loss. Yeah, we're definitely not going to make the playoffs at this rate. But just want to see some good results in terms of individual player numbers if possible, because that will at least show me that the top prospects are getting ready to take over pretty much. Like, we have still a lot of filler players on this roster, but soon enough it'll be mostly drafted guys from our team, which is awesome. So where's the Devils actually in the standings out of curiosity now? They're still second place in our division, huh? We're dead last. Yeah, it looks like the Devils are likely going to make the playoffs based on their point totals right now. So we aren't going to be able to get a lottery selection from that Matt Barzal trade we made a few years ago. But at the same time, it's okay. Last year we were very close to getting one, but somehow the Devils made it back to the playoffs again, which was kind of concerning. But at least they didn't go super far. We're on a 3-game winning streak again. All of a sudden, Wallace was never injured, I don't think, but it says he's recovered from an injury. I got to double check that he's still in here. Yeah, he is. Okay, he's up to a 75, so he must be playing pretty good next to Leahy. And Prince, hopefully, is getting good growth, too, playing next to Leahy. Like, I really hope a lot of those prospects could help each other out in terms of growth, because that would be great. All right, so 3-game win streak. There is a loss to Washington and a loss to the Rangers, as expected. 30, 39, and 6. I'm glad that we at least hit 30 wins this year, because if we would have had anything less than that, I would have been kind of concerned. But we got a total of 7 more games left to go. We definitely are not making the playoffs. The Devils have not clinched yet, but they probably will be soon, I would assume, unless they have a lot of losses down the stretch. Like, if they find a way to lose, like, a lot of games and miss the playoffs near the end of the season this year, that would be pretty funny, considering last year they obviously did the reverse of that. But let's hope that they maybe lose a bunch of games down the stretch. Game against Buffalo is a win for us, which is not necessarily what we need, but it's okay. Game against Utah is a win as well. New Jersey is a loss, though. That's not great to lose to them. Yeah, they're definitely going to clinch a playoff spot here. 87 points. The only team that's not in the playoffs right now in that division has 77 points. So at this rate, it's pretty much impossible for New Jersey not to make the playoffs, which kind of sucks. 2 games against Toronto. It's a home and home. Can we win one of these? Yes, we win the first one. Salmelainen's been injured till the end of the season. That kind of sucks with a sprained ankle. Let's just go replace player. And there's another win. So 2 straight wins over the Leafs. Love to see it. The Leafs are in a playoff spot or not? No, they're not. They are not going to be making the playoffs this year. That's kind of crazy. So the Leafs have fallen off here by 2032. Final 2 games of the season, we got Washington and Pittsburgh. Washington is going to be another win, and Pittsburgh is going to be another win. So we might have cheesed ourselves out of a good pick in those last 4 games, potentially. But we finished with 78 points, which ties with the Penguins. Carolina was dead last in our division. And we're almost done for entire season. Let me just see who ends up clinching that last playoff spot. The Rangers do make the playoffs, and the Devils make the playoffs as well. All right. Well, 36, 40, 40 and 6, that's not too bad. It's a little bit better than last season, I think, because I think last season we had like 35 wins. So I'll take it. I'll take it. It was a little bit of an inconsistent year, but let's hope that we got some good, interesting individual results. But in terms of our team itself, I can't take a look at our rankings, so I have to do this on this screen, which is kind of annoying. But let's see what we got here in terms of the NHL. So in terms of the entire league, we were the 24th worst team. So we probably don't have super good odds to get that franchise playmaker. Utah has the best odds to probably get him, but we definitely cheesed ourselves out of getting a elite player probably in this draft, unless we find a way to move up again, because we could move up again with New Jersey's pick, because obviously their pick's going to be a bit later. So we could use their pick and our pick and move up a couple spots if there is somebody worth moving up for. But we didn't have the worst season in the NHL, so that's kind of okay. In terms of goals for per game, we scored 3 goals per game, which was not the worst in the league. The worst was Vegas, of all teams. But we were 24th, obviously, and there is our goals for, which is going to be 32nd, 31, 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, I think, if I'm right. I don't even know. So 25th in goals for, I think. Goals against per game, we were stronger defensively. So that'd be 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, I think, in goals against. 21st, not bad. Power play percentage at 17.6 is pretty solid, I guess. Yeah, our power play was not terrible. And penalty kill percentage at 81 is also not terrible. So I think we had okay special teams for the most part, which is good. We had 9 short-handed goals this season, 23, 16, and 2 on home ice, so we were really good actually on home ice. But on the road, we had a really dreadful season of 13, 24, and 4, so that needs to be much better, obviously, going forward. But 7 and 3 in our last 10 games, we definitely probably cheesed ourselves out of a good selection this year, which kind of sucks. So if I go back to sort this by that, let's actually go to the AHL here briefly. Yep, our team's going to be making the playoffs in Bridgeport, so shout out to Bridgeport. They have a 40, 20, and 10 season going on right now, which is pretty damn awesome. So we'll definitely take a look at their stats as well through 70 games. I feel like they played 10 more games still left this season. I actually should take a look at that here quickly. Lindros leading the team in points, apparently 58, but I think they still have like 10 more regular season games, right? I'm pretty sure it's around 80 games they play. No, they only have 2 more. So it's a 72 game season. It's kind of strange. I thought it was a lot longer in the AHL, but all right. Let's take a look at our player stats in the NHL now and see who did what. Only 69 points from Anton Frundell, but that's pretty solid considering how bad our teams was offensively to start the year. But let's see what we got in terms of individual numbers. So, Poitron, 54 points. Not too bad. He had a better second half for sure. I think he started off pretty slow, so good to see him finish with 20-plus goals. Makinen on 51 points. That's a solid second season from Makinen. Not as good as his rookie season in terms of goal scoring and points, and plus-minus for that matter. But definitely stuff to build on for the future. He's still going to be really good when he actually gets to his prime numbers. Like, he's got fantastic passing stats, so as our team gets better, he's going to be a beast, I think. Bjorkstrand had 43 points in his rookie season, 23 goals. That's a pretty good rookie year for Stefan Bjorkstrand. Maybe up there for the Calder potentially, maybe not. But that's not too bad. He's up to an 84 overall already. So, pretty solid start to his career. He does shoot the puck a ton, 222 shots this seaseason. So, putting him next to a really good playmaker like Leahy in the future would be really good, I think. Rakoff on 33 points, not too bad. B-Stat on 18 points and Petrie on 4 points in 8 games. I'll take it. Left wing side of things, there's Frundell on 69 points, minus 23. So, a bit of a rough year for our captain, but obviously the team's qualities dipped down a lot. He will be much better eventually, I think. He was shooting better in terms of shooting percentage this year. Like, he technically had 17 goals, which is his most in a few years. So at least that's a positive. But definitely some stuff to build on for Anton Frundell. Kevin Crane? Yeah, Kevin Crane. 62 points, 28 goals for Crane in this third season of his. He is a pending RFA. Obviously, he needs a big boy contract this offseason, but I'm really liking the way Crane's progressing. Really good rookie season. Last year, obviously, his plus-minus was pretty tragic, but this year, he was +7 somehow on this team, despite a rough year for the team. So some good stuff from Crane. Throws a lot of hits, all that stuff. And yeah, I'm going to definitely give him a pretty nice little contract. I think we could easily give him like a 6-year extension, depending on what he wants from this team. Shala on 52 points. So this guy's been a pretty good free agent signing. He does have only the 1 year on his contract, so he is a pending UFA. So maybe we should have probably capitalized on his trade value, but I don't think we would have been cap compliant if I did trade him. So I don't know, but Shala's not that bad. He's actually pretty good. Neiman on 20 points. Oh, it's okay. Philman on 16 points is not bad either. Like, Crane's the only guy on the 4 group so far that's got a pretty good plus-minus. So Crane actually might be one of the more better players on this roster right now. He also had 17 power play points, so him and Frundell got a lot of PP points, which is good. From a right wing perspective, we have Cook on 45 points only, 24 goals, 21 assists. So a little bit of a down year for Cook in terms of goal scoring after his 2 first 30-goal seasons. But obviously if the team's better, he'll do better, I think. So yeah, I don't think I'm too worried. Obviously, he's got a couple more years, and then he's going to be a UFA. Obviously, we'll probably extend him at that point, but I think he'll be much better when this team's actually good. From a defensive standpoint, Dobson on 62 points, minus 13, and Olli Huttunen, 54 points and a -1. That's really good. Great season from Olli. This guy was a really good steal by Chicago. We stole him from Chicago in a trade involving Adam Pelech, I think it was. And he is starting to become that offensive defenseman I was hoping he'd be. So that's really, really nice. Really good stats. He actually has pretty good defensive awareness for an offensive defenseman too. But if we could get that awareness up to a 90+, this guy's going to be winning maybe Norris trophies. Like, that passing's so great. And his shooting's 89s across the board as well. So Ollie's a beast. Lamoureux on 23 points. +7 for Lamoureux. Nice. Okay, so a couple guys with some plus-minus. That's good. Pecker on 16 points. We had Salmelainen on 16 points. So Salmelainen was much better once getting put on the power play in terms of points. But that plus-minus is pretty damn rough for Salmelainen. -31, which is probably the worst on the entire team. Like, every single game, he was pretty bad plus-minus, I guess. Like, if we sort this plus-minus, He was -4 some games, -3 a lot of games. Had a really tough time for him. So hopefully he's better next season, but that's kind of rough. Boyd, 15 points and a +2. That's pretty good for Joseph Boyd. He's up to an 83 overall. Not as much offense as his rookie season and as good +-. But I'll actually no, it is good. It's better than that. I forgot it was not sorted properly. Oops. Yeah, better season in terms of offense, better season in +-. Not even taking as much penalties too. So Boyd's looking pretty good. He's looking pretty good. And it frames him 2 goals in 3 games. Maybe I should be playing this guy a bit more often, because this guy never got a chance to play in the NHL. And then he got 3 games from us. He was +3 as well in those 3 games. So this guy maybe needs a chance to actually play on the full-on defensive core and help us out from an offensive standpoint. Like, maybe we give him a big contract if we're not cap compliant and then Lamoureux leaves the team. I honestly don't know. And then from a goalie perspective, Solovyov jumped up to an 898, which is not too bad. But Carson Bjarnason had a really good second half, up to a 911 save percentage. So that's really good to see. But Solovyov still not the best numbers, but obviously I think this might be a career best from him. Yeah, it is. He is getting better. He played 70 games this year, so that's a lot of hockey for a goalie to play. But yeah, career high in shutouts, best save percentage, best goals against numbers. So even though his numbers still don't look the best, Solovyov is starting to deliver his goaltending numbers. So let's take a look at the entire league now, see who led the league in points. See who was the best point getter. It was McKinnon with 136 points. And then you also had Rantanen with 120, McDavid with 114, Bedard with 113. A lot of 100-point guys. Casey Middlestat even up there for the Avs with 106 points. Best goal scorer of the season was McKinnon with 75, which was almost 20 more than McDavid. So McKinnon's on a different planet apparently. So there's that. From a defensive standpoint, best defenseman was Cale Makar with 98 points. So Colorado's still killing it completely. But they might end up giving a Norris Trophy to Quinn Hughes. 10 less points, but 11 better +-. So that's going to be interesting. Only 9 power play points for Quinn Hughes with those 88 points too, which is kind of insane. So that's interesting. And then Dobson was up there as a top 10 defenseman in the league in points, and Houghton was not too far off of that. So nice stuff from a defenseman. Also, I just realized Houghton had 201 shots as a defenseman, which is one of the highest shooting defenders in the league. Up there with Luno, with McAvoy, with Hillen, Hughes, and Chickern. So Houghton could easily become a really good offensive defenseman based on the amount he shoots and all that too. I like that. From a goaltending perspective, most wins, Jake Ottinger with 44, Lucas Dolstall with 43. Most shutouts this season is going to be Montembeault with 6. Best save percentage is going to be Arno Tiffensee, who was in a free agency with a 922 through 50 games. Damn. And goals against average, it is going to be Arno as well. So it's probably going to be coming down to him and Shesterkin. I'd say they're probably going to give Arno his first Vezina trophy. So that's kind of insane, because I was thinking of signing this guy as our backup goalie, but I didn't do it. All right. Any goalie goals this season? And no goalie goals this season. Most points was Skinner with 5 assists. God damn. Skinner throwing up a lot of apples, apparently. Best rookie this season was Sanders in Winnipeg with 47 points, but he was -22. Kuhlman's probably going to win it because he had a better +- and almost the same point stats. And then Bjorkstrand was not too far off of winning the Calder, so pretty solid results. He'd be a finalist at least, but a lot of the rookies had similar point totals this season, which is interesting. Jaskalainen, who went first overall, had 37 points. We were looking at potentially drafting that guy, but we didn't. And Bjorkstrand had a better rookie season. So there is all of that. So now that that is done, let's continue to simulate and see how the AHL team does in their playoffs. Obviously, we'll take a look at awards and all that, and also our AHL player stats as well at the end of their season. But I do want to know if this AHL team could win the Calder Cup this year, because they definitely have a chance to. Like, they had a pretty good season this year. They're 8-0-2 in their last 10 games as well at this point in time. So we'll see what they could do in these last 2 games. 5-2 win there over Providence. And this game against Providence as well is a shootout loss to end the season. So we should take a look at the regular season stats, I guess, for now. But I do want to see, obviously, if they end up winning a Calder Cup this year. 41, 20, and 11. So pretty good season for Bridgeport. Maybe one of their best seasons they've ever had, but definitely started a little bit slow. But from a forward perspective, Lindros had 59 points. Leahy had 54, so a great rookie season for Leahy. Only a +2, but still some really good offensive stats. And he's up to a 76. He probably will crack the NHL lineup next year. Offensive awareness is still a little bit low, but his passing's a 90, which is awesome. Erickson on 52 points. That's really good for the medium elite. He also probably will be on the NHL team next season. We had Kaminsky on 52 points. We had Prince on 47. Not bad. Was expecting him to score more goals as a sniper next to Leahy, but still 47 points. Olin on 45. Wallace on 36 points on that top line. So Leahy kind of carried the offense on that first line a bit, which is good to see. So there is all the offensive stats. From a defensive standpoint, Pratt on 42 points, +13. He could crack the lineup potentially next season as a 78 if he's up to that point. But Pratt might be a career AHL guy, which is not great, but he's still really, really solid. But I wish he would have made the NHL. I thought he was going to develop into being a lot better than that. Sierra on 38 points and a +15. Sierra probably will also be on the NHL team next season, which that makes me think we should get Salmelainen to try and play right side as well. The rest of these guys aren't really important, I don't think. From a goaltending perspective, Medvedov on a 909 and Nikulin on a 904. Not the best results compared to last year, but maybe this team is good enough to win a Calder Cup. So let's see what this AHL team could do. We're going to just simulate through the playoffs quite quickly, obviously, but I do want to see if they could win themselves a Calder Cup, because if they can, that would be great, because obviously a lot of those guys will be jumping to our NHL team next season, so they can maybe bring some championship experience to our NHL roster. Just go best lines, because obviously our NHL team isn't playing anymore. But let's see how our AHL team is up to. So first series is against Wilkes-Barre. Let's see how they do in this 5-game series. They lose the first game in overtime. Second game, they win in overtime. Third game, they lose by 1. And fourth game, they win. And then they lost in 5. So they're out in the first round after a good regular season. That really sucks. Every game was decided by 1 goal in that series too. So that's unfortunate. That's very unfortunate. I was hoping that Bridgeport would have a long time in the playoffs and then we could actually follow along with it. But they get eliminated in the first round. Apparently the playoff favorite is Wilkes-Barre, so maybe we just ran into a tough team. But here's the final stats from the AHL playoffs. Sierra led the team on points and Pratt was second. So we got a lot of points from our defensemen. And Leahy was also point per game in the AHL playoffs for the first time. So we did get some pretty good depth scoring in that round. Just we could not find a way to win those close games. And Medvedov rocked an 887, so maybe Medvedov just fell apart. He could also be on the NHL roster, maybe as a backup goalie next year, depending on his growth. But let's continue to simulate the rest of the NHL season and find out who wins the Stanley Cup and all that now. But that kind of sucks that the AHL team was out so early. Was definitely expecting for a little bit deeper of a run this year. But I'm hoping that we could win the draft lottery or something like that this coming year as well. Because that could be something that could definitely help us out even more so with our rebuild. But I don't even really know if I want that center either, because we already have a lot of centers. So maybe we don't need it. It's going to be a Colorado and Columbus Stanley Cup Finals, which is not the two teams I was expecting to see there. Colorado maybe, but not necessarily Columbus. Will Colorado win the Stanley Cup this season? Yes, they will. Colorado is a crazy team in this. Hershey wins the Calder Cup. So Colorado, the Stanley Cup champion in 2032. They've been a really good team in terms of winning President's trophies and obviously offensive numbers and all that. So it makes sense that they actually finally won one. But they went against Columbus in 6 games. They also went through the Oilers. They went through the Stars. And they also went through San Jose. All right. Let's take a look actually at their cup winning team for fun as well while we're at it. See what Colorado had on that roster. So Rantanen, McKinnon, yeah, both over 29 points. Not a surprise. Yeah, they got some crazy offensive numbers from their top guys. And their depth scoring was also really solid. Like when Ross Colton picks up 10 goals, that's going to help out a lot with their run. Yeah, pretty good depth scoring for the most part. And in their goaltending, they got some great results from Urson. I think they've won multiple Stanley Cups in this franchise mode now. It says he's won 2 cups, so I think they might have won recently too. Let me take a look. Yeah, they won 2 years ago. So 2 cups in the last 3 years for the Avs. Yeah, they've been very, very good. So there is that. Let's continue to simulate and find out the retirements and also where we're going to be drafting in this upcoming year. Hopefully it's a good pick for our team, and hopefully it's something we could actually use as well. So we're going to be staying at number 9, which is kind of okay, but like I said, if we could want to move up, we can. We do have another first round pick as well, so we could try and move up if there's somebody worth moving up for, but we could also just stay at number 9 if we want to, because I think there is sometimes elite steals at that spot, so maybe we could find somebody there. Terms of retired players, Artemi Panarin retires with the Penguins, Scheifele retires, so some pretty big retirements. Victor Hedman, the best defenseman, looks like as well. All right. Best goaltender to retire is Vasilevsky in New York. So he got dealt to the New York Rangers, and we thought maybe he wasn't dropped off by then, but he plays his last year with the Rangers as a backup goaltender. And then he only got to play a little bit in the playoffs. Was actually really good in what he played in the playoffs in 46 minutes, but does not get another Stanley Cup to end off his career. But there is Andrei Vasilevsky wrapping up his career. Korpisalo number 2, which is kind of a huge drop off in terms of goalie quality, but there is the goalie retirements as well. So there is all of that. I could have went through more of it, but it doesn't really matter too much. In terms of players that are now coaches, Horvat is now a coach. That's an interesting one. Considering he used to play with us, do we get Bo Horvat in as our coach for our rebuild? That would be kind of interesting, because using an old former player of ours as a head coach, if Calgary doesn't bring him in, using Bo Horvat as a coach would be kind of cool. Scheifele and Hedman are also coaches too, but Bo Horvat as a coach, if he fits our roster, maybe he's the type of guy that could lead us to a cup win after he retired. Chase Iverson is a coach that retired for our AHL team. In terms of NHL coaches, we did not lose anybody. All right. Okay, so now comes the question. What is this draft class looking like? What are the contract situation looking like? And what is also the progress reports looking like? So let's start off with the contract situation, since it's the most tedious, boring part of this. We have, obviously, like I mentioned, some big RFAs this offseason. We don't necessarily need to bring back Shala, Rakoff, Lamoureux, Neiman, because I think we'll probably have some players to replace them, Philman as well. But in terms of our RFAs, Crane is going to probably want a lot of money after a good season. 7.775. So as of right now, he wants to go to free agency in a few years. And that's a lot more money than I was expecting from him. But I don't think he's going to want a long-term deal. Maybe he could be open to it if we added a clause to it. Maybe not. Maybe. No movement clause adds a little bit of interest. I don't know if I would sign him for 8 years. If we go to 8 years, he wants $9 million. So I'm not too sure on what we'll do with Crane long term. Maybe we'll qualify him for now since he's only 22. Olli Houtinen, though. Very interesting player. He actually has a lot more organizational interest than he did before. He actually wants a 6-year deal at 8.125, which I think I might be already willing to give him exactly kind of what he's asking for. So Houghton's definitely going to get a nice little long-term deal. We could even do that before the re-sign stage in next episode if you guys remind me to. But I think having Houghton back on that point would be great, because obviously it seems like he's definitely starting to produce at a great level. And then Salmelainen probably not going to want too much after a disastrous season in terms of plus-minus. Yeah, he only wants $2 million right now. He also has a lot of organizational interest. So I mean, if I drop this up to 8 years, he has no interest in whatsoever in 8-year deals. But we could give him definitely a little temporary 3-year deal. He will be starting an RFA at the end of it. And that way we could see how good he is in those 3 years before we commit to him long term. So that's not bad. In terms of other players, though, Solovyov is obviously the other big one. Up to an 87 at 24. What is he wanting? 1-year deal at $7 million. Okay, so he's also not asking for too long-term of a contract. He has no interest in 8 years. If we go to 8 years, he wants $13.95 million. So he is going to cost us a lot when he eventually has this contract in. But he will be still an RFA at the end of the season. But he is very close to being a UFA, so we will probably have to commit to him long-term soon if we want to. And then Medvedov, I don't think he's ready for the NHL yet. Yeah, he still wants a two-way. So I don't know if Medvedov will be the backup next season again. We might have to have somebody else. Okay. So there is the contracts up for renewal. Obviously, the RFAs are the more important ones. Like I said, we don't necessarily need to bring back Shala and all that. We could bring them back, but there is guys in the system that are going to be pushing some people of the rosters. So there is that. Next thing we got to take a look at is the progress reports. What do we got in terms of growth? Because that'd be nice if we got some good growth here. So Mäkinen 84, Bjorkstrand 82. They got a lot of growth this season. From a left wing perspective, we have some statistical growth, it looks like, from Crane and some natural. All right. Not a lot of natural. Oland is up to a 78. He could probably play on our NHL roster as one of those options now next season. Like, we could easily go with like Colson Pitre and play Oland instead. From a right wing perspective, Cook with some statistical growth, also some natural growth to his poise, but yeah, Cook is back down to being a third-line scoring forward, so that's a little bit worrisome. From a defensive standpoint, Houghton is up to an 84, and it's a combination of natural and statistical. Natural to his poise. His statistical is his offensive awareness. So, definitely should have another good season ahead. Looks like Boyd is just on natural growth with his poise as well. A lot of guys are getting growth in poise. Pecker went up by 13 points. That's actually really impressive. Good growth to his offensive awareness and stuff like that as a DFD. All right, I'll take it. And then, yeah, Sierra should probably be in our lineup next season, which makes me think having Salmelainen as a right D would be a good idea. Because then if Salmelainen is still a top 6 defenseman, hypothetically, we use him as the top 6 right D, Boyd is the top 4 right D, and Dobson is the top 2 right D. Then we have Houghton as the top left D. We have Pecker as a lefty. We have Sierra as a lefty. Like, it's starting to come together a little bit. And in terms of the goaltending, Solovyov, a lot of statistical drop-off. So I guess it's just because of his individual numbers, but a rough year for him. He did generate some more X factors, though. He does now have, like, light work, I think it is, sponge, and X-ray, if I remember right. So he does have some more X factors, which is good. In the system, Medvedov went up by some points. We had Nikulin going up some points. Smits and Hainsey going up some points as well. Good to see. From a defensive standpoint, like I said, we could always play Noel Franson in our lineup next year too, but he had 2 goals in 3 games, which is pretty impressive. Like, maybe he's better at the AHL level, but at the NHL level, he was pretty good. Pratt's pretty close to being a NHL depth defender. He's actually listed as a depth defenseman. So maybe Pratt will be in the NHL team next season. Just because of that. That'll be interesting. But if he gets in, that means what do we do with like Sierra and stuff like that? That's where it gets a bit dicey. Peltonen up to a 75. He doesn't matter at all. Unila's a 75. Roland's up to a 70 as a low 4. That's actually not too bad. Especially for 20-year-olds. Alright. So a lot of growth down there. Apple's up to a 64 as well. Right wing side of things, we got Wallace up to a 75. He's not ready yet, but he might be getting close. Nielakainen up to a 69. Bathgate up to a 65. Rokon a 61. Not bad. Rokon, actually, that's a pretty good growth for a top 6 forward. I'll take it. Left wing side of things, Prince up to a 73. He barely got any growth. That's not great. Yeah, I don't think Prince is going to pan out, unfortunately. He's going to be one of those top 6 busts. Leg's up to a 67 as a lowly. That's another good year of growth for Leg. He is 21 now, but he is AHL eligible next season, I think. So that's good. Bure up to a 67 and 19 as the top 6. That's good. Droscher 65. Leeson's up to a 64 as a 19-year-old with the elite potential. All right, not bad. And centers, the big ones. Lindros 77, Kaminsky 77. Both those guys could be on the NHL team next season. Erickson, it says a 76, but I bet you he'll jump up even more so for the start of next season. Yeah, he'll probably be an NHL 4th liner next season. And then we have Leahy up to a 75. He actually didn't get a lot of growth this season, apparently. It was mostly just his poise. So he might need another year in Bridgeport still, which is okay. We don't need to rush him. And we also had some growth from Giordano, who's up to a 71 at 19. So Giordano is also looking fantastic. So we definitely have guys in the system that are getting close to the NHL. Prince up to a 66 at 20. That's not bad. He had 6 goals and no assists this season. And then he had 1 goal in the playoffs. So he literally did not pick up a single assist all year. It's kind of weird. All right. Final things, let's take a look at this draft class. So first and foremost, the draft board. We have 9 and 19 in this first round, and we have 2 second-round picks, both early. We do have a 3rd, 4th, a 5th, and a 6th. No 7th-round pick this year. All right. So we could move up if there's somebody worth moving up for. But let's see what we could get at 9 and 19 at least. So in terms of 9th overall, let's see. Probably just a top 6 forward, I'm guessing. Yeah, probably a top 6 right there. Is there any elite steals, though? DeVoe. I can't tell for sure on DeVoe. What about Latinen here? Ooh, okay. Kari Latinen, another Finnish guy, looks pretty good. He might be worth taking at 9th. We can even move back in a draft and take back capital. There is also Murray. Bo Murray looks also actually pretty good. Maybe I'd take both these guys. But I'd have to move up the Devils pick with using one of our second rounders. But both these guys look good. We don't necessarily need more centers, though, is the only thing. But Bo Murray and Latinen both look pretty solid. Greening actually looks pretty good, too. Doesn't look terrible. Valaket looks okay as well. So that looks like there's going to be some okay steals in this first round, potentially. Gustav Samsonov, The real question is there any, like, really crazy steals in terms of elite players that are supposed to go outside of, like, the first round, like, early second round? Let's see. Any low elites for later rounds for me just to take? Any low elites here? Maybe with Ellington. We'll pin Ellington for sure as, like, a 6th round selection or something like that. What about Haken? I don't know. There might not be as much low elites in this draft, but I think we're going to be able to get some good players in the first round at least. Because I think I might eye Latinen as our 9th overall selection. And then if we want to move up with the Rangers pick, we could easily move up to get Murray. If we want to. I don't know if we necessarily need more centers, but he could be like a really high overall low elite or a top 6 forward too. And if he's a grinder or a power forward, that's something that we don't really have too much of. So that could be something we look into. Okay. Well, anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our New York Islanders franchise mode. So in next episode, we will take it to the draft and re-sign stage as we look to basically just add a few more prospects into the roster. Obviously, there's some things we need more than others, but I think we're on pace to have like a pretty good young squad in these next few years because a lot of guys could jump from the AHL to the NHL roster next season. And we already had a lot in our roster already. So we're starting to build up that team where it's just going to be full of drafted players from my last few years, which is awesome. So I think obviously the playoffs will come after a little bit of years with those guys. But I think things are working out well. And I'm excited to see what the team's looking like next year. So I think down below. And I'll see you guys next time.